Many of you asked if I was stressed, and I was not. And all of a sudden I am. I think I could even say, I think I'm emotional. I think I'm emotional because I know what it is to be a woman. Trying to give birth and not being able to give birth for many years. That is what I have felt. Having ideas, and you know me quite well, so I have often very good ideas, or at least I have often ideas, maybe not always good ones, but I have ideas. I started this project many years ago, and it has been very intense. It has been revealing. It has been confronting. And I can tell you one thing. If you really want to get to know yourself, write a book. It is just incredible to see what it does with somebody. It is so impacting when you expose yourself, when you write about what is important to you, when you write what is deep inside of you. So it is really an incredible experience. Now, I'm not so much to talk here about the emotion, or at least my personal emotion. I'm here to talk more about the gratitude and the joy for life. First of all, I would like to share something which is essential for me. January 94, the 11th. A large BMW is found back in the outskirts of Bogota. 73 bullet impacts are found in the car. In that car there were 3 people. I was one of them. I had 3 bullets in my body and I was paralyzed. One bullet went through my left leg, one through my right leg, one in my lower back. We were kidnapped by the FARC. The terrorists thought that we were the people who were supposed to be in the car. And by misfortune, or maybe by fortune, because otherwise I would probably not have written this book, I was in the car with what became a very close British friend, who passed away recently, and the driver. Long story short, I had to wait several weeks before I was able to be transported back to Belgium. And in these weeks, I was thinking, laying in my bed, trying to get back on my feet again, because I had to learn to walk again. I was thinking, why do people do that? What would have happened if I had died? What is the importance of life? And without really knowing very well and clearly what about, I decided that my life would be about something special. I decided that I wanted to make my life consecrated to the love for life. And so in '94, I put the grain of what I hope will one day be a whole forest. A forest of people committed to living the life that they think they have to live. So I don't want to be dramatic, although the context in which the grain of what is now a part of the forest that I'm thinking of was actually happening in a quite dramatic context. And now, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear family, what I do see is that a lot of people spend more time annually on planning annually their holidays than once in a life planning their life. When we know that 85% of the global active population, working population, is disengaged from what they do, when we know that more than 12% of the world population is living in mental distress of not being connected, when we see what happens in Europe with the Brexit, with Hungary, with all the movements, populist movements popping up, when we see that we are all connected with our devices, but we're disconnected from ourselves, we're disconnected from nature, and we're disconnected from the others. So the world is connected, but we're not connected with ourselves anymore. When I speak with people, and you know that I have to do that every day more or less, I meet thousands of people in the work we do with our organization worldwide. And a lot of these people, high up in the organization, high up in society, are disconnected from what is most dear to them. And I'm not talking their wife or their husband or their children. They are disconnected from what is essential for them, which is themselves. Now, how would you want to live a life that is meaningful if you're disconnected from yourself? How can you be connected with that what is most important, which is yourself? So what we do is we try to reorient people on focusing on becoming conscious of what is most important for them. And that is that noble purpose, the raison d'être, the reden van bestaan, the meaning you give to your life. When organizations start rethinking the way how they want to connect with the people in their organization, and they try to do that through key performance indicators, or they try to do that through facts and figures, we know by research, trust me, we have done some of it, that people get disengaged and disinterested. But if you bring in organizations purpose, something that gives meaning to their life, all of a sudden, what people call magic happens in the organization. Now, there is no such a thing as magic. It is just magic that people start connecting with themselves because they connect with something that is of a higher order that they can relate to. And what we see in organizations that bring purpose as the centerpiece or the center stage is all of a sudden the energy shifts. People start working together, collaborating, being proud of working for such an organization. Suppliers, stakeholders, they want to be connected with such an organization because it stands for something. And then people go home and they speak to their partner, they speak to their children, they speak to their friends with pride that they are working for an organization that is meaning something for society or humankind. And the great thing that we see happening is that those organizations who have understood, and several leaders of such organizations are in this room, which obviously is a great thing for me to know, when such organization leaders start making that shift, shifting from key performance indicators to caring for people indicators, sharing from transactional leadership to loving, caring leadership, the culture of the organization changes and people start connecting. So let me just go back. I just wanted to give this as a bit of a, I would say, content piece. But let me just give you something more light, which is the writing of the book. Actually, I have to admit that the idea came in 2008. And 2008 was the year when I decided to take a sabbatical. We're 2019, so it's almost 11 years later. It's a bit of a process. In 2008, I thought I'm going to write something because being the former CEO of Ormet, I had met so many amazing people, and people told me a lot of interesting stories. And I said, I would like to do something with these stories. I would like to give some meaning to all these people that in their way they give meaning to others. Then finally I met 3 years ago, Hilde van Mechelen, who unfortunately couldn't be here because she is ill. She is the chief editor of Lano Campus. And we had a talk, and she said, I think you should write a book. And I said, well, I was thinking of writing a book, but it's not really in my plan because I'm busy. She said, yeah, I think you should write a book because we have been following you for 2 years, and you have interesting things to say. And we think there is an interest and a niche for that. She said, you know, if you're open to the idea, why don't you put like an idea together of what the book could be about? Write us 1.5 page. I was writing business columns at the time, so I thought this is an easy piece, so I wrote 1.5 page. And 2 days later, she wrote back to me, she said, we don't like it. That's not good. That didn't happen so far that they would say when I wrote something that it wasn't good. So we started a whole journey, as Niels said. And the interesting thing is that when you write a book, there's a lot of things that come together. It is not so much the idea, because I had the ideas, but it is, in my case, having too many ideas. And I was struggling really severely with that. And before Niels, who I consider actually as my coach and my incredibly important support in this whole process, Hilde said, we don't want you to write 3 books because you have too many ideas. Concentrate on noble purpose. Write just 1 book. Okay, so I decided I would write 1 book. There have been moments, and Luciano can, who is my partner, for those who wouldn't know him, he can testimony about it, or testify, I would say. There is moments that you have a lot of inspiration, exactly at the moment that you do want to have the inspiration, because you have to go to a party, or because we're leaving for holidays, or because there is another meeting that is waiting, or anything. And then there is moments where you're sitting in front of your paper and you have no inspiration. It is excruciatingly difficult when you're so-called a writer and you're sitting in front of a page and you have no ideas and you have to write. But then Niels came, and as I said, he was my coach, and he helped me a lot, and he helped me with 2 things, actually with 3 things. He helped me with getting self-confidence in writing, because there is a whole technique about writing, and I had no idea. I thought, well, you write put things together, you write a book, and that's it, and then it is published. It's not quite like that how it works. It is important that you get your ideas put together. The second thing is that you need to have a certain discipline. I have quite some discipline, as many of you know, but the discipline and the inspiration, as I'm not a professional writer, or at least I was not a professional writer, means that when you have time to write, you can dedicate your time to write whenever you want to write. I'm running a business, and I was also writing. So when I was running my business, I had to find time to write. And I had to find discipline, which was not an easy one. And the third one, the most difficult one, was to confront yourself. I had no idea that writers even sometimes get a shrink to help them get over the writing of the book, because it is so confrontational with yourself, and especially when it is partly biographic, which is a part of my book, at least the first part of my book is biographic, which is actually the story that is bringing the content of the rest of the book. You have to be self-confident and learn to be self-confident. And that has been, as far as I'm concerned, an enormous learning process. So, the content of the book. I have to say I'm surprised. So it's the first time I see it myself. Obviously I had seen it on, they had shown me a picture, but I hadn't seen it myself. I was surprised that it was quite thick. I have to say, I always say that nobody is going to read a book that has more than 200 pages. So I really hope that you're going to read it because it is more than 200 pages. But apart from that, what I wanted to give as a message is the following. You don't need to get kidnapped in life before you start deciding what's important for your life. You don't have to go to drama. Your organization doesn't have to get almost bankrupt. Society doesn't have to get corrupt, or society doesn't have to become so sour and negative before you start doing things that are essential. There's 3 big parts that I think are essential in life. That is us as human beings, that is us as people who work in organizations, whether that is very small, whether that is as independent, or whether that is in large multinational organizations, whether that is in an opera house, or whether that is in a boutique consultancy, in any kind of organization where people work together, in the systemic context in which people work together, it is important to understand what happens there energetically. And then the third angle is society. I truly believe that we need to go to a society that is more purpose-driven. On several occasions, I have been speaking with leaders of the European Union, and I told them, I said, do you have an idea why it is going quite bad in Europe? Although we, from a material, health, security, safety perspective, we're doing so much better than many years and many decades and definitely many centuries ago. But the perception is that things are not going that well, and it is because there is a lack of purpose. People are connected with things that don't matter for them, so people feel annoyed with things that don't matter to them, which is normal. And when we say, let's bring something that is more meaningful back to the center, then people start connecting with it. So the promotion of noble purpose is the following. First, think for yourself. The 150 people in this room, and everybody is going to read the book. Not that I hope that you will read it, but not that I think that you will read it or should read it. But I mean, all people will read the book. The question I'm asking those who read, and the question I'm asking those here in the room is, why do you do what you do? Why do you get up in the morning? And how can you make it that you go to bed enthusiastic, energized, maybe tired, not tired because of the transactional boring life you lead, where you're disconnected from what is really essential to you, but where you are tired because of having done so many amazing things that you feel that matter for yourself and by extension for the others. The second thing is, what kind of organization do you want to work in? What kind of organization do you want to lead? What kind of organization do you want to build? What kind of investment, as you are an investor, you want to do? For what purpose? And in order to have people who are connected with themselves in organizations, in economic contexts that matter, we need to have a society where purpose and what purpose means is relevant. So we need to have political leaders. We need to have people who impact the many billions on the globe from a different perspective than often the perspective they have now. I was recently listening to two people. It was a Belgian future party president. And I thought he was having a great talk. And I think he was saying really meaningful things. And then he ended, when the journalist wanted to conclude, he said, what is it that you would like to achieve? He said, well, you know, I want our party to become the biggest again. And then I thought, like, well, this is really not what you should have said. You should have said, I want to do the necessary that through our party, we're going to contribute so that the people have a better life, or anything like that. And I was listening to the leader of a large organization that has a huge impact in the world. And they were asking, why are you leading this organization? And the answer was, because I like the shareholders. I find that a very narrow answer for somebody at that level. When we have the chance to change the mindset of these people, when we have the mindset of being connected with what is most dearest to us, and we are willing, we're courageous enough to take choices, to make choices, and to pay the price for that choice, we're going to live a fully fulfilled and noble purpose-driven life. So, to end, if you think what is the most important for you, what do you think is for your life? You don't have to answer, but just think about it. What is the most important for you? What is it that you would like to say when you're speaking to your closest friends at the end of your life? What is it that you have stand for? Is it the great house you had, or the amazing titles you were given, or the fortune you built, or is it something more relevant? I think that what is essential in life is what is most dear to ourselves from a noble perspective. Noble has nothing to do with aristocracy. It has to do with something which is at the service of others by dedicating yourself to what is important to you. So noble purpose for me is this elevation of your own vibration by doing things at the service of others and by finding pleasure and pride and engagement and commitment in what you do, but always at the service of others. And when organizations, when enterprises, when ecosystems understand that it is not about the number of products you sell or the services that you bring into the market, or the number of, when you're an art gallery, the number of art pieces you bring into the market, but that it is by inspiring people, by what this means for them and how this is going to elevate them, bring them better thinking, better conditions of life, that is really going to make all the difference. And I would hope that this idea of noble purpose, which is not an idea that I have invented, I have built a whole concept around it, but that this idea of noble purpose is something which you will from now on never forget, and take with you in your heart. It is not a matter of the mind, it is a matter of the heart. And I truly hope that it will help you to inspire when you have some ordeal, or when you have some important decisions to take, or simply when you are really feeling that you're living in flow, and you want to keep that flow. Probably it is because you are having a purpose that you have given to your life, maybe even unconsciously. Noble purpose is not a material objective. Noble purpose is not something transactional. Noble purpose is something which sits in our DNA, which is actually something we have to reveal. We have to reconnect with it. It is not something that we have to look outside. It is inside that it sits. So I have a very positive, humanistic oriented vision of life, where I do believe that there is something good in each of us. There is something good in each human being. And I think that it is important that by the interaction we have, by the kind of things we do in life, that we start connecting with that good thing. It is the simple theory of the glass that is half full or half empty. I prefer that people live a life where the glass is half full, where potential risks are seen as an opportunity, and not where opportunities are seen as a potential risk. So, the joy of having written this book is that I wanted to share the ideas. And actually, there was a hidden agenda which I didn't share with Niels and Hilde. Is I want to create a noble purpose movement. Not a big thing. We're not going to start creating a big legal entity. We're going to start talking about noble purpose. We're 150 people in the room. If we all start sharing our thoughts about it, you don't have to agree with it, but at least if you start sharing your thoughts about it, you start thinking about it, you start seeing how you can implement it in your life, you will see how it is going to impact the people around you. So I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, my life is even more committed to noble purpose, because I solemnly, in front of all of you, I declare that I'm going to push for a noble purpose movement. Not a company, not an enterprise, a movement. And that is why I call myself a noble purpose activist. Now, I could talk for a long time, which is probably going to start boring you, so that is why we decided that we were going to have an interesting panel. And when I thought of who would be the right people to invite, my choice was actually very easily made, because I happen to know quite some interesting people. And I know a lot of people who are driven by purpose. So I don't feel alone about it. And I wanted four special people, to share the story, to share what they have to say about noble purpose. We have Marianne Sebastian. I'm not going to take away the work of Shoko, the journalist who is going to moderate the panel. But we have Marianne Sebastian, who is an amazing social entrepreneur based in Switzerland. She will tell about her initiative, where she has liberated, through the power of purpose, hundreds of thousands of children from slavery, from the mines. We have Carson Castleberry, who came from Germany. Carson is a company CEO of a very well-known enterprise who decided to leave only a couple of months ago. And he wanted to dedicate his life to purpose and transformation. I have met him when I was actually still working for him, when he was still the CEO of the enterprise. And I think we have done amazing things, and I already saw in him this grain, this seed of purpose that he wanted to bring in his worldwide organization. We have Peter, who apart from an amazing friend, is also the head of, you're actually in his house, because he's the general director of La Monnaie. He is incredibly dedicated to purpose and is actually working with his organization to transform the house around the purpose that they have decided. He is going to share more about it. And finally, we have Guy Wollard, who used to be one of the top executives at the Coca-Cola company, and who decided, for purpose reasons actually, to start connecting with something which was even more dear. He was the only Belgian that got up so high in the Coca-Cola enterprise worldwide. And he decided, after having tried several things, of bringing purpose into the organization, to do it in a different way. He's also willing to share that. So I'm extremely honored and very happy that we have the four of you, Marianne, Carson, Peter, and Guy. And I'm very happy to hand over the mic to you. Thank you very much.